the morning, good afternoon, good evening, Fabulites. This is Angela with another edition of Notes on the News, where I share with you headlines that I have personally selected from the news feed and put on my personal news feed, and we may talk about, explore about those headlines, about the subject matter in general, about the article if we've read it or we're familiar with it, or about whatever we feel like talking about, because it's our space and we can do what we want to do. Hey, welcome on the chat. So that's what the segment is. The channel is Be Fabulous You, and I'm Angela. Welcome. Thank you for being here, liking, commenting, subscribing, and all of those other wonderful things that you do to help to build the channel. Yay, we got a like. Whoop, whoop. Something on the screen. We're still working on 1,000 charter subscribers. Yay! So you're part of the vision, and I appreciate that. So we start with the Nguzo Sapa. We're working, kind of exploring the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Then we're going to move on to the What Up Though Buddha segment, and then we will move on. Hey, I see. How you doing? And then we will move on to the news feed. Where's your couch partner? Oh, Lord. Oh, boy. I'm still stoked from seeing both of you last night. Oh, my gosh. Now, y'all know I'm shy and I'm private. So we are on the 3rd principle of Kwanzaa, which is Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Just passing through to show some love and support. Hey, Nikki. Hey, Roddy Chica. Thank you for passing through to show some love and support. I sure appreciate it. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Ujima is in the Swahili or Kiswahili language. I still don't know what I should be saying. To build and maintain our community together, and to make our brothers and sisters problems our problems, and to solve them together. Pussycat. Hey, what's up, Water Cypher? And everybody. Yay, thanks for the likes again. Okay. So we are on Endarkenment.com. They write essays. And so we are reading the essay 1 paragraph at a time on Ujima. So when I say Habaragani, you say Ujima, spelled Ujima. So the second paragraph is Ujima as a principle and practice also means that we accept the fact that we are collectively responsible for our failures and setbacks, victories and achievements. So when we doing well, we all doing well. What's up, Kendrick? When we not doing well, ain't none of us doing well. It's not like a one-off, like, well, I'm cool, so I don't care about the rest of y'all. Hey, Ayafo, what's up? So that's not what it is. It's like we all in this together. We rise together or we sink together. Okay. And this holds true not only on the national level, but also on the level of family and organization or smaller units. Such a commitment implies and encourages a vigorous capacity for self-criticism and self-correction, which is indispensable to our strength. Oh, thank you. To our strength, defense, and development as people. Defense, I'm really hyper focused on this concept of defense when I think about communities like Tulsa, Oklahoma, communities like, it's a couple of articles. I don't know if we'll get to talk about it on the news feed, but just where people will come into your community with guns, and they'll come into your community and try to run you. They'll come into our countries and try to run us. They come into our lives and into our world and try to tell us what to do, what to believe, how to behave, who to follow, or how to live. So how do you defend yourself from savages who are focused on savagery? Okay, so let's read this again. Such a commitment implies and encourages, let's go back to such a commitment. Ujima as principle and practice also means to accept the fact that we are collectively responsible for our failures and setbacks, as well as our victories and achievements. And this holds true not only on the national level, but also on the level of family and organizations or smaller units. Such a commitment implies as and encourages and self-correction, which is indispensable to our strength, defense, and development as a people. So what do you need to correct in yourself? What do you need to analyze in yourself? What are you working on in yourself? Work on ourselves. We're an inspiration and we're support for our brothers and sisters, our mothers and fathers, our, we are support for each other out here. So we have to do that work on ourselves. And that's indispensable for our strength, defense, and development as a people. Hey, Miss Reed, long time no see. All right. Okay, so that's it. Now we move on to the segment called Yo Buddha, what up though? I think, is that what it's called? Pariyatti Daily Words of the 22nd, 2018. That makes me think it's probably October 21st. Because I think I'm one day ahead on this one. Let's see if there's any edification for us here. 12 in the building, 7 likes. Who's holding out? Get them, girl. Get them. Yo, Buddha, what up, though? Okay. Agony now, agony hereafter. The wrongdoer suffers in both worlds. Agonized now by the knowledge that one has done wrong, one suffers more agony, gone to a state of woe. Now, I wonder about that. Do all of the people agonize when they do wrong, or do they sleep? Hey, Autumn Loves. Or do they sleep, as somebody saying to me, they sleep like, what is it, the sleep of the well, it's an expression, but it's like, I always wanted to believe that when people behave, and I use people loosely, but when your behavior is out of alignment with truth and good and God, then your life on the inside be kind of jacked up. You be like, you afraid to look in the mirror and nervous, and you not sleeping well. But do they just sleep all relaxed, like whatever? The sleep of the righteous. That's right. Are they sleeping the sleep of the righteous, or are they tortured? I mean, the Buddha say they tortured, but I have questions. Y'all have the answers? Rejoicing now, rejoicing hereafter. The doer of wholesome actions rejoices in both worlds. Rejoicing now in the knowledge that one has acted rightly, one rejoices more, gone to a state of bliss. Now, I know for me personally, when I do something, when I know I'm out of alignment, it's like I'm going to get caught. Like, it's hard for me to, like, if I'm telling a lie, like, it's just hard for me to maintain, what do they don't say righteousness, agony. Like, it's agony for me to maintain. If I know I'm out of alignment, if I'm incorrect, if I'm improper, I can't relax with it. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel comfortable. Only those with a moral barometer. So I don't know. I mean, yeah. So anyway, the Buddha make it seem like everybody have a moral barometer. Everybody don't have a moral barometer. My whole world is shifting and changing, and I'm like rethinking some things that I used to think were just like a done deal and obvious. Like, people are just people, right? And now I'm like, maybe they're not people. Okay, so I proceed to the news feed. Hey, Sonia C's. What up, girl? Okay, so let's see what's on the news feed. Oh, this looks weird. Second, brown girls do gymnastics. Just remember, because I just went through my news feed about 5-10 minutes ago. Second, brown girls do gymnastics conference touts girl power and self-love. So there was a brown girls do gymnastics conference last year, I guess, and now we're at the second one. And I remember, I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. When I was little, I always like, I could do a cartwheel right now, but I can only do it in one direction, because when I studied capoeira, I realized that I can only cartwheel this way. I can't cartwheel this way. And I'm like, how do I learn to cartwheel the other way? It was like mentally, I was like kind of jacked up, like trying to cartwheel the other way. But when I was a little girl, you know, you want to do cartwheels. I wanted to do cartwheels and rolls. And then you put your hands up in the air like, da-da! Like, you know, it was like I wanted to be a gymnast. So, you know, maybe other little girls, you know, it might be exciting and fun for them. But I'm glad that they did one last year and that they're doing one this year. It's like it's a continuation, like they're building on something, like there's a market, there's a need that's being fulfilled, there's a service that's being rendered. Okay, so anyway, yay. All right, 10 claps. Y'all see the people walking by? Watch my back, y'all. Watch my back. Looking forward to coming back. Okay. Yosemite. Photographer searches for Taft Point proposal couple. Now, this was actually a beautiful image. I don't know if the photographer, the couple, but I think the man was proposing to the woman, and it's a really interesting image. Maybe he was trying to like catch like the landscape, and he just happened to, when he looked at his photograph, be like, "Oh my gosh, somebody getting engaged in here." I was taking photos. You know, I was out and about on a tour and we were taking photos, and I was going through and editing them and deleting them as I go. And this woman was like, "No, you never delete your photos on the go. You have to go and look at them on the computer because there may be something in the background that you weren't even focusing on that you want to have because you took a photo." Or, you know, like basically like, I'm just like, if I look in the photo and I'm like, I'm not cute, I'm like, delete. She like, there may be something in the background that you want. I'm like, oh, is there something in the world other than me? No, but I was just like, oh. So I don't know how this photograph was captured. They tell them to be careful posing. Many die in Yosemite doing that. Oh, is it Yosemite or Yosemite? Okay, so look. So was the person just taking a picture of because he doesn't know who these people are. But can y'all see the couple? Oh yeah, he down on his knee and everything. Can y'all see the couple right there? Okay, so now let's zoom back out. So the photographer is searching for the couple. I guess he want to give them the photo. I don't know. He probably want to charge them for it. $12.99. You could have this photo. Yosemite. Like Yosemite Sam? Is that how you pronounce his name? Yosemite. I don't know if I'm going to retain it, but you see, I'm trying to work with it. Was it Sonia? Thank you, Sonia. Okay. French teen charged for pointing fake gun at teacher. Peace, Information Man Show. How you doing? I'm doing well, thank you. So, a teen pointed a fake gun at their teacher. Now, teenagers, to me, are crazy. Like, I feel like they have hormones going through their system. They start when they're preteens and then they're really crazy. By the time they're teenagers, a lot of times they've leveled out some, but I don't think that they're really exactly sane. I think they're on drugs, like the drugs called hormones. So they do crazy some things that, you know, teenagers, young people do some things that are like a little like cuckoo, like what, why, huh, who, and it's not really any way to explain it. Like, I feel like sometimes when you ask young people and like try to talk to them about stuff, they not thinking because they don't have the full capacity to Yapo, Yosemite, DeWanton, Demarius, Yapa. They just don't have the capacity, they just don't have that full brain capacity. So we just gonna charge this to the gang. The teen pointed a fake gun at his teacher. It was a fake gun. And I don't think that they have this whole school shooting phenomena in France, but it seemed like that could all help, could have broken loose with you pulling a gun out and pointing it at your teacher in school. So I don't know what the story is. That's coming off of the BBC, but I know it would be very scary to me, unless the gun just obviously looked fake. But I mean, if somebody pulled a gun out at me, I'm going to be thinking they trying to shoot me. I'm not going to be thinking, oh, it's fake. That seems very stressful. Your pictures, markets. Ooh, I used to collect. I like to collect crowd scenes, and I also like to collect like pictures, drawings, images that like reflect like large groups of people. I think they're fascinating. That's just something, I love that. But the other thing that I really like to collect or gather or see, I like to see images of laundry on a clothesline. I don't know why. I just think that's really interesting too. But the other thing is markets. And so on BBC this week, they have your pictures markets. So I guess it says, I did not know this, but it says every week we publish a gallery of on a set theme. It is, and there were really some beautiful from above. Oh, that is fabulous. That looks like a place you want to go and explore. Now, this is a whole bunch of fish. It looks like a crowd scene. It's like a crowd of fish. That's an interesting image. See, that could go in either or collection. Usually my crowd scenes are people. They will arrest you for making a gun gesture with your hand in schools around here. You can't even do like this, bang, bang. I didn't know that. My first in my first marriage, my nephew, he was fascinated with guns, and his family was like nonviolent. They ain't really believe in guns. And so, like, even though he was a little boy, he didn't have like a whole bunch of toy guns. He didn't have any toy guns. They would not allow him to have toy guns. And he would get things like a water bottle and be like, boom, he was always and forever creating guns. I don't know if it's because, like sometimes when you say no, you create resistance. So I don't know if that's what had happened, but he was like fascinated with guns. He was always like, you give him bread, he'd be like, boom. You'd be like, dang, why are we no violence? But he had an accent. He'd say violence. He'd be like, Bob Marley died from violence. He was really cute. No, right. And then I think there's also like this whole phenomena. You think with little boys, that's what I was like, now that's a little boy thing right there. He's just really into the guns. Okay, now this was the image that was the cover from my news feed. Oh, ribs at Detroit's Easter Market. I've actually been by here. This is probably at Burt's Marketplace in Detroit. It's a Black-owned business that has been there for probably 10, 20, 30 years, and they grill meat. Now, I don't eat meat, but when you're down at the market, it's kind of like you can smell it. They serve like soul food, but they grill meat outside. They do like open mic nights. They play jazz there. During Black History Month a couple years ago, I went. They had like a Tuesday afternoon, like lunchtime film festival. Burt's Marketplace. That is so funny. Image, but I did not think of Burt's Marketplace. Okay, look at this one. Her hat, and then the color of the greens, and then the work that she's doing. That's a beautiful image. And then look at this one. This photo was taken on the Gale face green in Colombo, Sri Lanka. I don't know what that means, but look at that stuff flying. At first I thought it was birds, but I think that it's like kites or something, because they're colorful. Oh, kites, and it's an International Kites Festival 2018. Look at this. Oh, talk about symmetry and mathematics and nature. Isn't that beautiful? You can't see. Oh, dang. Oh, why can't you see? Picture is a bit pixelated. Oh, that's sad. Okay, well, I'll just leave that whole thing alone. But it was some beautiful images. They were. Okay. That's very sad. I feel sad for you, not for me, because I could see him. Okay. The kingdom of Kush, Meroe, Kerma, and Napta emerged in the Nubian desert. So I was looking at a map of the African continent yesterday or the day before, maybe, I don't know, or maybe yesterday and the day before. The map was Sonia sees. We'll take your word. And one of the maps was like, I guess they call it like a topographical map, where you're not necessarily looking at the countries, but you're looking at like the landscape. And they're like symbols, so you can, like, the colors is color coded so that some points are high, some points are low. But anyway, I saw the Nubian desert. Like the Nubian area is like up around Egypt. And I don't know why I was like, oh, Nubia, Egypt, the Nubians. So that's when I saw this headline, I thought about that. The Kingdom of Cush, Meroe, I never heard of that. Kerma, I never heard of that. And Napta emerged in the Nubian desert. This is coming off of Black Then. Um, so I don't know. Let's see if we can see anything about the Nubian desert. The Nubian desert. Are you a Nubian? Y'all know how people used to say, "Oh, my Nubian queen" back in the day. Um, the Kingdom of Kush, with its three major cities of Meroe, Kerma, and Napata, emerged in the Nubian desert south of Egypt along the upper Nile River Valley from the second millennium BC to the 4th century AD. Archaeology, architecture, art, and burials provide the most information about the Kushite. King-Shites had a written language based on the Egyptian hieroglyphs. To decipher language. There's so much that we don't know. There's so much that we don't even know that we don't know, that we don't even know exists, that we've never even been exposed to. The local river provided strategic communication and trade routes, both within the kingdom, the Nile River Valley. Oh, it's getting warm in here. I'm getting a little warm. Kushite relying on irrigation systems and rainfall in some systems. In some areas. The Kushites also mined minerals. See, they're still mining minerals today, and high quality stone for trade, and introduced and developed iron metallurgy to the region. This region of Africa also produced more gold than anywhere in the world at the time. An archaeological site near the present day village of Hash el Garuf in Sudan, dating to the early Kush period, 1700 through 1500 BC, revealed a massive gold processing. Okay, thank you. Gold processing operation with many grindstones, 3 feet in diameter and several hundred pounds in weight, essential for the mining of gold. The economy of the ancient Kushites relied to some degree on the trade of exotic African goods with Egypt. As middlemen, Kushite traders passed along ivory, ebony. That's funny. Ebony and ivory, like on a keyboard. They live together in perfect harmony. But I was just, ebony and ivory. I don't know why. Incense and other exotic goods from the south to the Egyptians, who then traded them with other Mediterranean peoples. The city of Kerma, with its strategic location on the Nile River, controlled the trade route between the lands further south of Kush and Egypt in the north. The role of Kush as a trade middleman influenced the relationship between Egypt and Kush. Egypt actively sought to expand their empire as well as control the trade route significant to their economy. The art and architecture of the Kushites reveal a sophisticated society of innovative craftsmen as well as constant assimilation of new artistic techniques from other lands. Notable architecture includes stone temple complexes such as the Lion Temple at Nakwa, never heard of it, and the steep-sided solid pyramids found at Meroe and Jebel Barkal. Kushite art, thank you, includes narrative tomb wall paintings as well as unique eggshell-thin pottery with geometric patterns traded all over the Mediterranean. Stoic granite and bronze statues of gods and kings convey the Kushite religious beliefs. Kush finally, under the persistent attack of nomads from the south, the Arabs flooded Nubia in the late 60s, I think. Kush collapsed finally in the 4th century AD under the persistent attack of nomads from the south and eastern lands. Also, the emerging Aksum kingdom in Ethiopia eclipsed the Kush kingdom and contributed to its demise. I didn't want to read about the end, except that, it just kind of occurred to me that, what comes up must come down. Suez, like the Suez Canal. What's Suez? What does mean? What you talking about, Sonia? Must come down. Nothing, and there's no shame, and it's like psychology. That's the cycle of psychology. That's the cycle of things. So anyway, that's coming off of Black Then. So even though we may not get to, I was looking at the African countries and kind of talking about countries like, oh yeah, we covered this on Notes on the News. Oh, having come in every day, we haven't been covering our countries because we run out of time. It's like 2-3 hours in, you'd be like, I got to go. Shoot, I got to eat every couple hours. I can't be sitting out here for 3, 4, 5, 12 hours talking about Al-Kiba. The Forgotten Tale of DeWitty, a thriving. Have you ever heard of DeWitty? Capital D, lowercase e, capital W, lowercase I, lowercase t, lowercase y. DeWitty. I never heard of DeWitty, but it was a thriving town in Nebraska. Oh, look at the people. Oh, y'all can't see the people. Located in the sand hills of Cherry County, they Black. Nebraska, the settlement of DeWitty was established in 1908 by Black homesteaders who constructed housing made of stacked sod. What is sod? Dirt? Stacked dirt? Okay. These settlers farmed some of the latest hospitable land in the state. The families were spurred to the area by the 1904 Kincaid Act. What's the 1904 Kincaid Act? Which allowed settlers to claim large but undesirable parcels of land with poor irrigation and little vegetation. All of that garbage land over there, y'all can have that. But see, sometimes what happened is what's one man's garbage is another man or another woman's treasure. What somebody sees and they like, we can't do nothing with it. Somebody else sees it and they're like, oh, that's a gold mine. I can do something with that. You see what I'm saying? Those who accepted the challenge were known as Kincaiders. Among the first to arrive in 1907 were Charles Meehan, born 1856 in Detroit, Michigan. Why I like Detroit so much? Every time Detroit, I get so excited. I mean, you think I was like born there or something. I was. But I mean, why is it so exciting to me? I just love me some Detroit. The son of white parents who had immigrated the previous year from counties Tipperary and Fermanagh in Ireland. Grass and mud. Oh, grass and mud. Charles had moved with his mother to Canada as a youngster, joining Charles. Okay, the only other early Black homesteaders included Clem Deaver and Robert Daddy Hanahas. Meehan's granddaughter, Ava Speece Day, later wrote about their experiences on the plains in Sod House Memories. Has anybody heard of that? Sod House Memories? Has anybody read that? Sod House Memories. That used to be my favorite book. No, I never heard of it. They settled in an area along the North Loop, L-O-U-P, river near Brownlee, calling their town DeWitty after the first postmaster, Miles DeWitty. In 1916, a change in postmasters prompted a change in the town name to Audacious. I love that name. Many popular towns out west were started by Blacks. Yeah, that's true. I don't know a lot about, like I know there are like a whole bunch of there's like a whole bunch of like Black history in the West. I don't really know too much about that. Whites took over them towns, followed by a post office relocation 2 years later to the town of Gard. For a while, the homesteaders found some successes. Ranchers raising beef cattle, mules, poultry, and hogs. A few had dairy cows and sold surplus product in nearby Seneca. Even though they were in the proximity of the North Loop, few of the Black settlers were able to claim land with water rights or even grazing meadows. So most had to purchase hay for feeding and lease easements for water access, adding to their financial burden, i.e. the Black tax. To make ends meet, some men worked as freighters or laborers for neighboring white ranchers, while women worked in kitchens, or served as midwife. The town of DeWitty / Audacious included a general store, the St. James AME, African Methodist Episcopalian Church, and 3 schools. Books were borrowed from the State Library at Lincoln through a program to service rural families. Other supplies were purchased through trips to Brownlee or Seneca, or mail order from Sears, Roebuck and Company. So y'all know with Sears closing, I was reading, somebody did like a series of tweets, and they were kind of talking about the history of Sears in the context of Jim Crow-ness in the South, and where when you went to a store as a Black person, I mean, that was way back in the day. That don't happen now. But, back then you go and you'd have money like anybody else, and they tried to treat you like boo-boo. And so they make you wait till they just treated you however they wanted to treat you. And so when the Sears catalog came out, the people could order and feel like they were treated with some dignity and respect and get what they wanted to get without having to be humiliated or demeaned and poorly treated. And the Jim Crow folks were like so upset because they were losing money, and I guess the opportunity to demean and demoralize Black people, that they started trying to. Roebuck was Black, right? I don't know. Now in this thing I was reading, they were saying that the people were that the people in the Jim Crowians were like, well, y'all don't sell the Black people any money orders, so then they can't order from the Sears catalog, and they got to come to us where we could treat them like skit and get that money. And then the Sears Roebuck was like, give your money directly to the postmaster, and the postmaster will buy the money order. So there was a whole thing. And then I read that's what I heard. Then I read that the white Jim Crowians started a rumor that Sears and Roebuck were Black in order to try to mess with their business. And so then Sears and Roebuck, Sears, they didn't say Roebuck, they just said Sears would then put pictures on the catalog, like, hey, I'm white, I'm white. So that, he could keep his white customers. I don't know about Roebuck, but that was the story. So what I heard on Twitter the other day, because y'all, didn't Sears finally file bankruptcy? I thought Sears filed bankruptcy about 12 years ago. But anyway, because it's been in conversation, this whole Sears thing, that it was a rumor that Sears was Black, or that there was some Blackness, so that was trying to destroy their business. Y'all Black, we gonna kill your business. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. So here they are mentioning Sears in this little essay. Then that other supplies were purchased or mail order from Sears, Roebuck and Company. During the early 1920s, the town had an all-Black. So you said that town is now called Audacious, Nebraska now. Is that what you were saying? Had an all-Black baseball team called the Sluggers, which played several undefeated seasons. However, by that time, most of the original homesteaders had found the land unprofitable and left the area. In the late 1980s, only one ancestor of a Black settler still owned land along the North Loop. So, all right, that was interesting. 422. Ocean Sweet. His name is spelled Ossain, but in Detroit, the Black people say Ocean. And I never heard of Ocean Sweet until about 10 or 15 years ago. Defended family against white angry mob after moving into all white neighborhood. He was a doctor. He moved into a white neighborhood. The white people are like, oh no, you're not coming in here. And they came like, get out of our neighborhood. I hear they were giving away side land in North Dakota. Get out of our neighborhood. And then Ocean Sweet had a gun and he started shooting. Like, you're not going to come in my house and shoot. And they like, we don't care if you are a doctor, Niggener, get out. They wasn't, they was just focused on the skin color. Born October 20th, that's my story before we read the official story. 1895, he was an American physician, noted for his self-defense in 1925 of his newly purchased home in an all-white neighborhood against a mob attempting to force him out of the neighborhood in Detroit, Michigan. Sweet was born in Bartow, Florida. His father was formerly enslaved and had brought land in Bartow in 18. He left home at the age of 13. His parents had taught him to the best of their abilities about religion and society. Sweet wanted to travel to the north to get an education. He was sent to Wilberforce University in Xenia, Ohio. I've heard of Wilberforce. Is that an HBCU? He came a long way. It was the first African-American college to be owned and operated by Blacks. Wilberforce was the first African American college to be owned and operated by blacks, because a lot of these HBCUs were owned and operated by white folks. And what do you think their agenda was? I mean, I'm just curious. Yes, Ohio. Um, Sweet became a charter member of the Delta chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi. Kappa Alpha Psi, he's a Kappa. My daddy's a Kappa. And earned a Bachelor of Science at the age of 25. Sweet later took a little job to make money to pay for his tuition and books at Howard University, where he later earned his medical accreditation. Sweet dedicated his life to rise above the struggles of the South and Jim Crow laws. Sweet married Gladys Mitchell in 1922. At the time, Sweet had his own medical practice, but would soon leave to study in Vienna and Paris. In Paris, the Sweets were treated as equals by other people in the country. Y'all, I feel like that's like some propaganda. I don't think that the French are like non-racist. Have y'all ever heard of Haiti? Or like the colonized French-speaking African world? Man, we used to be strong and dedicated. We are strong and dedicated. We are strong and dedicated now. You are strong and dedicated. By 1924, the Sweets returned to Detroit. Sweet became affiliated with Dunbar Hospital. I know about Dunbar Hospital. Detroit's first black hospital. Having saved enough money, he moved his family in 1925 from his wife's parents' house into an all-white neighborhood to Garland Street, another all-white neighborhood. He was very well aware of the prejudice he would face for living in the area, but it was what he and his wife wanted. Ever heard of Louisiana plantations, French run? Right, the French were brutal. That's why the whole situation, the revolution in Haiti was so brutal, because the French were known for their brutality. So now all of a sudden we can go to France and be treated like human beings. I mean, when the French were talking about the liberation and the freedom and the equality of man, or whatever that BS they were talking, they were enslaving Africans. So I don't know what's going on the surface. I have been to Paris for like a few days here or there. I don't feel like I have like any intimate experience with that culture, but I just don't believe that propaganda. I feel like it's some bullshit. It's propaganda. Brutal Creole slave masters, slave monsters and monstresses. But that's what he and his wife wanted. The Sweets moved into their home in September 8th, 1925. Now, on one hand, you could be like, well, why do you want to move into a white neighborhood? Why aren't you moving to a black neighborhood? But I feel like it's always like the black tax. Like, have y'all ever seen the movie or the play Raisin in the Sun, where they kind of felt like, dang, we could pay $100 for this house in the white community and have 3 bedrooms and a yard and all of this, or we could pay $400 for this house in the black community and have 2 bedrooms and no yard, because it's like a black tax. We think French is somehow exotic. And it's like a lot of times it's like way more expensive to be in certain, like, it's just like it's a mess that you have to choose. I don't know anything about this man in terms of like his value system. Like, did he think that white people were better, that white is better? A lot of us still think that even now, and back then there were a lot of us who did not think that white was better. But I'm just saying, was he like trying to move into the white neighborhood like, oh, now I'm rubbing shoulders with white people, that makes me better? Or was he just trying to get a good deal for his money? Or did they just see the house and he and his wife? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying that we can't just, we don't know. Since Sweet had friends and acquaintances who had suffered attacks after buying a home in an all-white neighborhood, he had 9 men on his house on September 9th, 1925. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, but 9 men at his house to help him guard his home. Also standing guard was Police Inspector Norton Shuckneck and a few officers who were set up outside Sweet's house to keep the peace. They were peace officers. And protect Ocean and Gladys from angry neighbors. When a hostile crowd formed for the 2nd consecutive night in front of the house, Sweet felt that somewhere out there, standing among the women and children, lounging on the porches, were the men who would incite the crowd. The crowd grew restless and stones were thrown at the home, breaking a window upstairs. This man is in his house just trying to live, and he got to have a whole crew of people to try to protect him from people who are savages, good neighbors with good schools, good family, and good hair. Sonia C says, right, why are you throwing rocks at my house? Why don't you just go live your happy life? I don't understand. Be happy. Sweet's friends were upstairs and armed with guns. Shots were fired from upstairs in the home out into the crowd, wounding one man in the man. We're not gonna say his name. Do we care? The 11 African Americans inside were later taken to police headquarters and interrogated for 5 hours. Interrogations lasted for an extended period of time, and the men were held at the Wayne County Jail until the trial was over. The Sweets and their friends were tried for murder before a young judge, Frank Murphy. Hey, I think the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice is like a juvenile detention center or something. I don't know. Judge Murphy was considered one of the more liberal judges in the city, with the media working the city into a frenzy. Y'all know Detroit was racist as I don't know what. Murphy denied the defendant's appeal to have the case dismissed, but Sweet and the other accused parties didn't give up. Word soon traveled and reached James Weldon Johnson. James Weldon Johnson. I heard that name before. The general secretary of the NAACP. Johnson correctly predicted that this case could affect the civil rights struggle for African Americans. The men and Gladys Sweets were all released and charges. I want to know the name of the lawyer because there's something downtown when I do my other lawyer that defended Ocean Sweet. I'm like, really? I did not know. She's like, yes, we know about that. I'm like, oh. Later, Sweet's wife and daughter were contracted tuberculosis. His daughter died at 2 years old, and his wife left to stay in Arizona because of the drier climate. Oh. Sweet went through a lot of difficulties with his finances and home with the bungalow to another Black couple. In the summer of 1939, Sweet's brother also died of tuberculosis. Sweet's physical and mental health began to fail, and on March 20th, 1960, Sweet killed himself with a shot to the head. That's the end of the article. That's I did not know that. I never heard that. Whenever I hear about Black people committing suicide, I'm kind of like, is that true? Lift every voice. Oh, is that James Weldon Johnson? I'm always like, did they really commit suicide, or did some white person finally get to them to get revenge for you moving into my neighborhood? And what I mean, and I could see like is made a transition. It's just kind of like, dang. I mean, I could see where you could be a little demoralized or a lot demoralized. That sounds like a great movie. Yeah, one of the I saw a script. I learned a little bit more about him from a show I was supposed to be in. I was playing a girl who worked in the bar. But Ocean, it was like set, like it was in the Ocean Sweet was one of the characters. She always does. Her name is Dorothy Robinson in the Dorothy Robinson Players. And I worked with her before, and I did a piece called Queen Esther, which was from the book of Esther. I played Queen Esther in it. And that was the first time that I really came to understand the magic of theater, because when we were doing the promo pictures and she gave me the dress to wear, I was like, this piece of crap. I mean, it just looked a mess, but in the photographs, it was beautiful. Like I really looked like a queen. I don't know but it was really beautiful, but like in person, it was a mess, but I'm sure from the stage and on the photos, it was beautiful. So, prayers out to the family and descendants, whether they're literal blood descendants or descendants in spirit of Ocean Sweet, and all of the people who fight for the right to just live and be. May we all, rise up and live and be. Okay. Mangbetu tribe, elongated heads, a common practice among tribal women. Now, we've been just reading. We haven't been really doing any modern news, so we're going to skip this story. But it's on Black Then. How you elongate your head? I know there's this thing you can do with necklaces to elongate your neck, but how you elongate your head? Oh, no. I just lost my my thing. So when I came out of the news feed. So that's when I say Habaragani and you say Mangbetu. I say Habaragani as in what's the word for today, as in the Kwanzaa principle. Which one did we discuss today? Do you remember? Is it collective work and responsibility? It's collective work and responsibility. Mangbetu tribe, elongated heads, a common practice among tribal women. Remember, the Flathead Indians did the same thing. No, I don't know much about the Flathead Indians. Okay, so Ujima. Horning brothers to pay 525,000 in workers' sexual harassment case. You came late? Oh, I thought you were here. Okay, so I'm not even gonna get into that. But I think he had, like they say, the man had harassed 10 women. Ujima. Habaragani. Ujima. Okay. I think they say he had sexually harassed 10 or 12 women or something like that. I guess if you have a habit and a pattern and a way of doing something, a lot of times you're going to keep doing that. Like if you like to eat cheese pizza, then you're going to eat cheese pizza because that's what you like to do. Like why you going to, that's, so I guess if you like to harass women at work, that's what you're going to do because that's like your thing. That's your pattern, Dunkin' Donuts apologizes after Somalis taunted by employee for speaking their language, Ujima. So the people were at Dunkin' Donuts and they were speaking, I don't know what language Somalians speak. Is it Somali? I don't know. They were speaking their language and the employee taunted them. I mean, what? I mean, I've worked, I've had a job before myself at work, and somebody comes in who's a customer and I'm making fun of them. Like, it's just like, who does that? Somali is the language they speak. I was just eating pizza just now. Is it cheese pizza? So Dunkin' Donuts apologized to the employees. GOP candidate Brian Kemp, they should have fired that worker. Right. I don't know if they did or they didn't. That story is coming off the grill. But I mean, I feel like it don't really take much training. I mean, even if you ain't got home training, I mean, it just seemed like it's common sense. Like, who does that? I don't know where they be finding these people. Oh, in America. Oh, that's right, in America. GOP candidate Brian Kemp takes down controversial ad that seemingly discouraged Black people from early voting. So I think he's running for office, but I think he's also like in some capacity with the voting machines or system or something. And so I guess he had an ad being like, I don't know what the ad said. I'm just going by the headline. I guess the ad is like, if you Black, don't vote early. It's not a good idea. Or if you Black and you vote early, we gonna get you or something. So the people are like, what? The Black people are like, what? No, pepperoni. No broccoli. Mulatto guy in Minnesota. Oh, is that who he is? Brian Kemp. And then the Black people, are like, what kind of ad is this? And so he took the ad down, Brian Kemp. So he took down the controversial ad that seemingly discouraged Black people from voting. Now, have y'all been in America recently? Like, I feel like it's not like, I guess you could say seemingly discouraged, but I feel like we know what's going on. Like, they all over the place trying to stop people from voting. And somebody told me, and I thought it was a good point. They were like, and I'm not saying I'm like a big voter. I do tend to vote, but I don't know if I just really believe in it. And also, like, if I'm separating from your system, then why am I participating in your system? It seems like separation and participation are mutually exclusive. But anyway, if voting doesn't matter, then why they go through all of these like things to be like, don't vote, don't vote, and try to stop me from voting and try to stop us from voting and deregister us and intimidate us and threaten us and pull the senior citizens off the bus. Y'all going to vote early? Get off the bus. So I don't know, but like we know what they've been doing. They've been fighting against us voting from that. They just been fighting against us voting. So yeah, I'm not. I don't know what the situation is, but seemingly discourage Black people from early voting. I think we could just kind of like seemingly. And I think we could just like take that out and just kind of like figure that that's what's going on. I'm just saying. Detroit's African American History Museum opens Aretha Franklin exhibit. I did research on Somali. The two activists who lived in Mogadishu are Fartoon Adan. Okay. I couldn't quite catch that, but maybe the people, hopefully, y'all can catch it. Good evening, Sister Angela. Thank you for the flower, Ron. How are you? And Ewad Eldman. Were those the people who were at Dunkin' Donuts? It's funny because sometimes when you think like activists, it's like, are you going to Dunkin' Donuts? Great. I'm glad to hear that. The St. Croix labor riot organized by 3 women leaders, queens of the fire burn. I think we talked about this before because I remember I was like, fire burn, 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 or whatever. So let's see what they're saying. Dunkin' Donuts was in Maine. Oh, what? Where they were attacking the Somali people? Guessing. 1878 labor riot on Troy was also known as Fireburn. The riot occurred October 1, 1878. There were 3 women leaders of the riot who became known as the Queens of the Fireburn. In July 1848, the laborers of Danish West Indies staged a protest and gained their freedom, but their freedom was short-lived. Plantation owners began devising new regulations quickly. What a shock and a surprise. It is almost like in this country, when they outlawed the enslavement of Africans, they had a little caveat called, except if they're criminals and they're in the criminal justice system. What they say? In no involuntary servitude unless you commit a crime and we put your ass in jail. Excuse me, we put your behind in jail. And then we can enslave you all we want. It's almost like something like that. It's hard to conceive. But their freedom was short-lived. Plantation owners began devising new regulations quickly. The free laborers were now forced by law to sign contracts which bound them and their families to the plantations where they worked. By signing these contracts, the laborers became slaves again. I'm going to say enslaved again. Laborers gathered in Frederiksberg, like private prison complex, right? At first, the gathering was peaceful. They gathered there to demand better working conditions. Then the crowd grew angry, violent, and rumors circulated that a laborer had been hospitalized due to mistreatment by the police. Rioters threw stones, and the Danish soldiers retaliated with gunfire. I never really think of like Danish as colonizers. But the violence just escalated, and the soldiers